Welcome to the weather forecast on the CIA TV channel. Dear friends, in this weather forecast, we're going to focus on severe weather and the potential for heavy rain across the United States over the next few days with strong winds, large hail, tornadoes, and even flash flooding. You can see that at 8 a.m., the storm system started in eastern Nebraska and southeastern South Dakota, moving east into eastern Iowa with winds up to 140 miles per hour. That's true in the Milwaukee area. We actually saw about 10 inches of rain in a very short period of time, which led to the closure of the Wisconsin State Fair there. And it was devastating flooding. Hopefully everyone is safe. Now, as of tonight, we're still tracking the threat of severe weather again, this time a little further south through Colorado into southwestern Kansas and northwestern Oklahoma, including the Oklahoma Panhandle. So be careful again from Milwaukee toward Chicago, St. Louis and areas near Tulsa, Oklahoma City and Fayetteville. That's where we have an isolated threat of severe weather. The most likely hazards that the storm could bring are 60 to 70 miles per hour winds along with some coin-sized hail. The highest hail threat is over the frontal ridge in eastern Colorado, extending into northeastern New Mexico. And then there's the low, but not zero, threat of tornadoes. There's a 2% chance of tornadoes in eastern Colorado, northeastern New Mexico and extending along the Oklahoma-Kansas state line, including parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle. Now, as we move into today, Monday, there's a small area of severe weather here into eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota with a marginal risk of 1/5. And then there's another area near Amarillo and Leech in the Texas Panhandle and back here into eastern New Mexico where we could see isolated severe weather. Mostly 60 miles per hour wind gusts and coin-sized hail. Fortunately, the tornado threat is less than 2%, so it's still mostly wind and hail. So as we go through the evening, we're going to see storms developing west along the Rocky Mountains, moving into eastern Colorado, then into northeastern New Mexico. So you can see as we go into the evening, we're going to see this cluster of severe showers and storms slowly moving east out of Colorado and New Mexico, into the northern Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then into southern Kansas. And this could bring not only damaging winds, hail, and localized tornadoes, but eventually developing into heavy rain and flash flooding threats. These storms will trend down as they get closer to Kansas City and down toward Joplin, Missouri. Could start to break out across the plains. These storms are going to be more isolated, more widely dispersed. One area up there into the Dakotas and into Minnesota. Another area behind the Texas Panhandle and eastern New Mexico that we need to watch. There could be a third cluster heading towards the Kansas City metro area. Overall, the heaviest rain is expected across southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma, extending into southwest Missouri. That's where we could see widespread rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches, with localized amounts of over 3 inches, as torrential rains move through the same area, called a thunderstorm cluster, and that could lead to some flash flooding. Moving into the eastern United States, we've got a lot of sunshine and that continues here tonight before sunset and mostly clear skies from the Ohio Valley to the mid-Atlantic and northeast tonight. So enjoy a starry night there. Further south, we'll see cloud cover and some thunderstorms across the Corollas, Georgia and Florida. So, unsettled weather across the southeast. Another 1 to 2 inches of rain along the Carolina coast, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, then into Savannah, Georgia with scattered 1 to 1 inch of rain here and there. Atlanta, Georgia, down toward Gainesville, Florida, Lakeland, Jacksonville. Keep a close eye on those areas through Tuesday morning. The western United States is pretty dry this afternoon, except for areas into southern California. There's a storm cluster or two there, into southeast Arizona and into New Mexico, where there are a few storm clusters. Otherwise, it's pretty calm. However, overnight, we'll see some clouds moving south from Canada, from Alberta into Montana, which could bring some cloudy skies, but eventually some showers and thunderstorms into northeast Montana. And then those storms will clear. But again, we're seeing a lot of storms forming in southeastern Arizona, especially eastern and southeastern New Mexico. Those storms could be severe by Monday evening. Most of the west will be dry, except for the areas we're talking about in northeastern Montana, eastern New Mexico, southeastern Arizona. Those are the areas that will get rain. If you're right on the west coast, stretching through the Seattle area, Portland, the Sacramento Valley and California, it's going to be dry until 7 a.m. Tuesday, August 12th. Between now and Tuesday, August 12th, there's no severe weather expected across the entire United States, where you see this light blue. So generally just some localized heavy rain. Some thunderstorms as usual. That's what we're going to be dealing with on Tuesday. It's another hot day across the desert southwest, back into the southern plains, including the Red River Valley. Temperatures in the triple digits. We've actually seen some heat waves that extend all the way to the Pacific Northwest. Washington, Oregon, and Northern California are also reaching the 90s and triple digits. And there's a heat wave coming up over the next few days. Temperatures will finally move east into the plains by the middle of the upcoming work week. That means the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, you name it, will start warming up into the mid to upper 90s on Wednesday, August 13th. Then temperatures will rise in the Midwest on Friday, back into the upper 80s in places like Des Moines, Milwaukee, Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Kansas City. And those heat indexes will be rising over the weekend. Starting low, your Monday morning will be pretty muggy from parts of the Great Lakes all the way to the deep south, where parts of Michigan could see record lows. And again, we're going to see a lot of heat throughout the next week. So keep an eye out. If you work outdoors, especially on Friday, August 15th, watch those heat indexes across the Midwest. Back in the triple digits in places like Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, up into the 90s in Chicago and near Milwaukee. And all the way up to the Twin Cities there. Same thing in the upper Midwest. We're going to see the energy blocks from southern Canada break away and head southeast across the US-Canada border into areas like the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota and Wisconsin, bringing with them the threat of severe weather and heavy rain, especially over the work week. Again, we're talking about Monday, August 11th through Friday, August 15th. We're talking about August 14th through August 15th. And then there's tropical moisture here into the southeast. So Tuesday morning, we have a low over northern Ontario near Hudson Bay. This will bring a cold front through some of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. Scattered or isolated thunderstorms are forecast along this front. And then there's another disturbance. A pretty strong system in Saskatchewan Wednesday night and Thursday morning that will bring another cold front and some storm complexes into the northern United States, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. By Thursday and Friday, we could be looking at more severe weather there. And then into next weekend, we'll continue to see a northwesterly flow and other severe weather. Again, mostly limited to the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Rainfall will be patchy across the middle of the country. You have to go further south and east or you have to go further north, especially closer to Canada, to get a higher chance of rain. The eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, and northern Wisconsin are prime candidates for a few inches of rain between Wednesday and Friday here, August 13th and 15th. Otherwise the heaviest rains will again hit Corollas with tropical humidity this week. Right now, the eastern Pacific is very quiet. Will it be quiet as we get into the third week of August? There is a trend that we could see another tropical depression or weak tropical storm develop from the Central American GY further west into the eastern Pacific basin, and it could get a new name. So we'll be watching that as we get into mid-August. Right now, what you're seeing is this system sitting at 97 degrees just west of Africa, near the Cape Verde Islands. And this is really the beginning of a storm that could potentially become a hurricane near the Caribbean or the southwest Atlantic by the time we get into mid-August. Look here. This is the National Hurricane Center sea forecast from Miami, Florida. There's a 90% chance that a system will develop from the Cape Verde Islands, west of Africa, through the main development area and just northeast of the Leeward Islands. So by Saturday, this system will be just north or northeast of the Leeward Islands. Again, this system that looks pretty healthy is moving through the Cape Verde Islands as a weaker system. Again, it's around 97 degrees Fahrenheit, and most of it is actually north of the Leeward Islands, with a couple of them going a little bit further west toward the east of the Bahamas. Most of it will probably curve out into the southwest Atlantic between Bermuda and Puerto Rico. And then there are some that actually curve east of Bermuda, so we don't know after Saturday, as it moves north through the Leeward Islands, where it's going to go. Will it go further west? Will it go further north or just straight northwest? That's the question we're going to address for today's newsletter. So we're going to start seeing them moving north instead of west. If it stays weak, it's going to continue to move more westward in longitude. So we're going to be watching that as we go here, certainly into mid-August. That's the concern, right? The thermodynamic environment is very favorable in the southwest Atlantic basin for a system that's rapidly intensifying as it passes north of the Leeward Islands. Where it's going to be in the next few days is going to be some cooler water. You also need to be on high alert in case this system continues to move westward and impacts you. Oh, but no need to panic. Just keep an eye on the forecast. If you live in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, or the east coast of the United States, again, we're monitoring this very closely for the foreseeable future. Thank you all for watching. We will continuously update the storm situation in the next news. Please subscribe to the channel to follow. Thank you for watching the news on CIA TV channel.